Welcome back. Today let us have the lesson 6 from unit 1 of signal systems. In this lesson we are going to cover the analogy between vectors and signals part 2. As you already discussed the vectors representation and the condition for them to be a mutual perpendicular, and similarly we are going to discuss the condition for signals and their condition for a mutually perpendicular and orthogonal condition. Next, from this lesson students can able to represent the function of signals, the condition for orthogonal for signals, and whether the signals are orthogonal or not for a given time interval can be solved. From this lesson, as you already studied the concept of vectors, how they are going to represent it. Similarly, in this signals, we are considering the same representation with bold font as a signal and the magnitude with a normal font. So in this function, in this x1 signal is expressed in terms of x2 within a time interval of t1 to t2. Here we are considering x1 of t equals to c12 into x2 of t, where c12 indicates the magnitude as we discussed in the vector. Here also it represents the magnitude, and x2 of t is the second signal. So the main concept that we gone through the vectors is they are going to be orthogonal, or they are going to be mutual perpendicular if c is minimized, and error vector v is having less distance. Similarly, in in this signals concept also, we are introducing an error signal with x suffix e of t as representation, and c12 is a constant magnitude between the two signals x1 of t and x2 of t. So the main condition as we expressed in vectors, similarly in signals also we are going to minimize this c12, and how this c12 can be minimized that we are going to see in this presentation. And please remember that the signals, whatever you are defining, are within the time interval of t1 to t2. Okay. And next, the error function representation, already in vectors we have got formula as v1 equals to c1 to v2 plus ve. If we take v in the left hand side, v will be equals to v1 minus v1 to v2. Similarly, in signal concept, we are taking xe of t as an error signal as a left hand side, and it will be equals to x1 of t minus c12 into x2 of t. So as the main aim is to minimize the constant parameter c12, so similarly here also we need to minimize c12 and also the error xe of t. In vectors we are discussing that the e must be minimum. So here also we need to minimize this xe of t. So here we are mentioning that xe of t as an error signal. So here we are mentioning expressing that xe of t must be minimized. So for this minimization, one of the method is by taking integration over the interval t1 to t2. So by expressing xe of t over the integration, we get as 1 by t2 minus t1 integral of t1 to t2 xe of t into dt. If I represent or rewrite the xe of t from the previous slide, I will get 1 by t2 minus t1 integral t1 to t2 x1 of t minus c1 to x2 of t whole into dt. But from this type of integration method, there may be a possibility of getting an error, either more positive or more negative, within the interval what we are defining, which can result in cancelling of one another in the process of taking an average. So which may result in error, and it may be a zero also. So for this type, it is a remark so that we unable to use this integration directly. So to overcome this, we are using a mean square of the error. So the mean square of the error nothing but xc square of t. So we are taking a square of the error signal and representing that as epsilon. So epsilon expression nothing but it is a mean square error equals to 1 by t2 minus t1 integral t1 to t2 x e square of t dt. So you need to rewrite the expression of error signal in terms of x1, x2, what we already discussed. So after rewriting the expression, we need to minimize C12 so that the so in terms of minimizing the C12, we are equating the relation of epsilon by differentiating with C12 and equating to 0, as you can see from the expression in the slide. So on equating the expression of mean square error epsilon with differentiating with C12 and equating to 0, we get expression as you can see from the slide. After writing the expression or after expanding the expression, as it is a squared error, so after expanding that expression by changing the order of integration and differentiation, means by taking differentiation inside the integration, we can relate the expression as integration of t1 to t2 x1 of t into x2 of t dt equals to c1 to integral t1 to t2 x2 square dt. So how we have got this expression? Here, as we are differentiating with respect to c12, when we expand the epsilon term, whichever term there doesn't consist any c12, that will be 0 or that will become 0. So as there doesn't exist any c12 term, that will be removed, and the remaining terms will be c12 square x2 square of t minus 2c12 x1 of t into x2 of t dt. So these two terms will be existing. So after solving those two expressions, then we get this expression which I already mentioned, that is integration t1 to t2 x1 of t dt x1 of t into x2 of t into dt equals to c1 to integration t1 to t2 x2 square of t into dt. So further solving, we get as a c12 expression we need to obtain. C12 can be expressed as integration t1 to t2 x1 of t into x2 of t divided by integration t1 to t2 x2 square of t dt. So we are getting this expression by taking the right hand side term c12 we are kept left right hand side as it is, and the remaining term we are considered in the taken to left hand side. So after rewriting that, we get this expression of c12. So this is the condition for signals. So for vectors, as we already discussed, v1 dot v2 by v2 square. Similarly, here v1 expression going for signal x1 of t, v2 expression is going for x2 of t, and after replacing or rewriting or re-expression of with respect to vectors, we can equate that the signals whatever the expression we have got, it is similar to the vectors condition. Okay, so from above C12 condition, both vectors and signals can be represented analogous to each other. Next, in both vectors and signals, the orthogonality condition, as we already discussed, the orthogonality condition nothing but having or mutually perpendicular. So mutually perpendicular possibility exists if and only if there is no relation between x1 of t and x2 of t. Okay, means if I can't express in terms of vectors, if I want to express, if I can't express v2 v1 in terms of v2, then those two vectors are said to be mutually perpendicular. Hence, similarly for signals also, if I can't express x1 of t in terms of x2 of t, then those signals are said to be orthogonal. And as per the vectors condition, two vectors are orthogonal if and only if their dot product is 0. Similarly, two signals are orthogonal if and only if integral of the product of two signals is 0. That is, integral of t1 to t2 x1 of t into x2 of t dt is 0. So if I relate the two signals with a, b, here representation of vectors with respect to signals as we already discussed with x1 x2 as v1 v2. Similarly here xa with a, xb as b, and xa square with a dot a. So as a vector representation, vectors of a individually if I express with the dot relation, a dot a will be equals to 0. Similarly, integral t1 to t2 xa square of dt will also be equals to 0. It can be represented that the function sin n omega naught t, sin m omega naught t, cos n omega naught t, cos m omega naught t, and sin n omega naught t, cos m omega naught t are orthogonal over any interval. Okay, you please remember these terms. These sine and cos terms are orthogonal over any interval for integral values of m and n. For sine and cos, those are always integral with respect to each other. So they will be mutually perpendicular and hence are orthogonal over any interval for integral values of m and n. That is how we can see orthogonal condition for signals. So that's we finish our lesson 6, and we'll meet for later for lesson 7.